Sweet.
Hey everyone, welcome to a midweek, tough to call it a follow-up. We had to cancel church this past Sunday, so we're not following up to a live service, but we did post, we encourage you all to go back and rewatch that Relentless Pursuit message from February, I want to say February or March of this past year. And the reason for that is if you were part of the church at the time, if you heard that message live, if you've watched it since then, if not, wherever you may be, this will be a refresher for you. But I presented in that message, the reason why we haven't come up with like a new vision statement for every year is because that's not where I feel burdened as a leader. It's not where the elders feel burdened, you know, as we talk about it, to have this kind of constantly changing target for every year. Instead, I really feel this deep conviction, this burden to create a culture. And in that message, you know, we defined why is culture important. We talked about that. We defined culture as shared values, beliefs, goals. It affects your language. It affects your behavior. It stays with you even when you're not physically immersed in it. And so a culture will stay with us throughout the week, right? It won't just be a Sunday morning thing. It'll be a culture that shapes who we are Monday at work and Thursday at our kids' pickup game or basketball game. Culture endures beyond individuals. You know, like, it's not like the first person to say y'all left the South or died and they just stop saying, you know, like that's culture, right? Like culturally they say y'all. And when someone who says y'all dies or moves away, they don't stop saying y'all because that culture language permeates and it endures and it lasts. It's noticeable to those outside of it. You know, if you're not from the Northeast, if you're not from the New England area and you go up to New England, like, you notice the culture around you. It's different. And you can lie about it, you can fake it, but only for a short period of time. And real culture eventually reveals itself. And so we talked about all these things in that message entitled Relentless Pursuit, Cultural Vision. If you're not familiar with it, it's right on the homepage of our website, discovercommunity.org. And there's a little block that says, you know, what we're trying to create, what we value. And so we encourage everybody this past Sunday, since we couldn't meet in person, to go back and rewatch that message on Relentless Pursuit. One, because we want that idea of relentless pursuit always at the forefront of our minds as we're seeking to create this culture. Because that was the last piece that we talked about with culture, is that it requires the majority. You know, you and I cannot create a culture on our own. Throw in the elders and our wives. And now you've got, 12, 14 people. That's still not enough to create and drive a culture. If the majority never buys in somewhere or in something, then you can't have a culture of that place. You know, and I use the example, we've got maybe 2 or 3 Michigan football fans here in our church, but we have way more OSU Buckeye fans. So you cannot say we have a culture of Michigan fandom. And so we really want Relentless Pursuit to be on the forefront of all of our minds and hearts because it requires all of us and we need to all be in it together. But then we also want, we encourage people to rewatch it because it's really going to set the stage well for this new sermon series that we're starting. I feel like I've talked for a while.
No, that's okay. No, keep going.
So, one of the things I love that you did when you kicked us off in our series on Isaiah 9:6. So we did the series in Joshua, July, August, September, October, November, right? 5 months in Joshua. Then we spent December in Isaiah 9:6 looking at the names of Jesus. And I love how you tied Isaiah 9:6 to Joshua. And you tied the person of Jesus to the promises and the themes of Joshua that we had just spent 5 months studying. In this new sermon series that we're starting this coming Sunday on, we're calling it Be Equipped, a life of spiritual discipline. It really is going to tie into Isaiah 9:6. It's going to tie into Joshua, and it's all going to come together and fit under this umbrella of a relentless pursuit of Christ and of holiness and of sanctification. And so I really appreciated that you did that with Isaiah. And so as we're coming out of, now to kind of kick it to you after I've just word vomited everywhere. We're coming out of Joshua. You tied it into Isaiah. We wrapped up our series on the names of Jesus in Isaiah 9:6. We're preparing for this idea of discipline, spiritual disciplines in our lives. What has stood out to you as we've moved from series to series, prepping for a new series?
I mean, I think, so I wasn't here the whole time for Joshua, but even before we were here, like we watched or like we listened to a lot of the Joshua series, and then moving into this series, the about Jesus, about Isaiah 9:6. I think it's cool coming out of that series into the spiritual disciplines, because the whole reason why we did that series, like the whole reason why you wanted to do that was because these things are familiar. Like these things are familiar. We say them all the time, and we don't really, they don't impact us outside of Christmas time.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
And what's good about the spiritual disciplines is because now it's going to lead into, okay, so how do I live my life now seeing Jesus as who he's claimed to be,
Yeah.
And so that's what makes me excited, all of the things that we're going to go through with spiritual disciplines. And then even with how all of that ties into the vision of relentless pursuit, like relentlessly pursuing what? Well, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. One of the questions, so again, to go back to that message on relentless pursuit and kind of what you were just saying right there, your last thought. At one point in that message, I gave our people, I talked about like 8 questions that I had been asking myself, that I'd been asking the elders and the staff at the time, hey, here are the questions I want us to be thinking about here. And one of those questions that we asked at that time and that we've continued to ask throughout elder meetings and things is, what are our goals for our people? And what are we doing to help them get there? And it's that second half, right? Ephesians 4 says that the leadership of the church is meant to equip the people of the church. And so you talk about, okay, well, what are we in relentless pursuit? Like I have this deeper understanding of Jesus. So what am I relentlessly pursuing? Well, we're going to talk about that. So this upcoming series is really going to be a specific look at that. What are our goals for our people? Well, one of them, the foundational one, is to be like Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
To know Jesus, to understand who Jesus is, to live like Jesus. And so this series, we're really hoping, and now we're kind of turning this into a preview video, if you will. So get hyped, right? Like a movie trailer. But we're really hoping that there will be some very real, obviously we try and do this every week, but there will be a really big emphasis in this sermon series on that equipping element. I mean, we're calling it Be Equipped because it's, okay, hopefully we've established a foundation, a bedrock of this is who Jesus is. These are his promises. This is his nature. This is his character. This is who Jesus is. This is who God is. So who are we to be in light of that? Well, we're to be relentlessly pursuing him. Now let's look at some really specific ways that we can equip you to do that. And what you all hopefully have realized, I've said it a couple times, but every week we give that homework at the end of the sermon, right? Like that's been part of a deliberate equipping of the people. Because some of the things we're going to look at for spiritual disciplines are we disciplined when it comes to scripture? Are we disciplined when it comes to prayer? And two of the things that I hear most frequently as a pastor as I'm talking to someone is, well, I don't know where to read in the Bible. Right? I want to read the Bible, I just don't know where to read. And it's, it can be intimidating to just pick it up and, well, do I just...
I mean, there's 66 books.
Right. Do I just start in the middle? Do I start where do I read? That's an obstacle to a discipline of scriptural engagement. So at the end of every sermon, we say, hey, you don't know where to read this week? Here are the 4 chapters to read, right? Let's equip you to do so. Prayer. I'm uncomfortable praying. I don't know how to pray. I don't know what to pray for. All right, let's give you some prayer ideas. So we've already been laying the foundational groundwork over the last 2 years. I mean, we've been given sermon homework for 2 years now. So we've been laying the foundational groundwork of equipping. But this sermon series is really going to take that and kind of ramp it up and really, maybe there might be some weeks where people are like, oh, I'm doing well here. But then there are other weeks where they're like, whoa, that really, that's a great practical, I can take this step and I can start applying this within the next 24 hours.
That's a good word to use. Practical is like, how can I practically relentlessly pursue Jesus? Like I know it in theory. The Bible tells me so. I know I'm called to that, but how do I practically do it in my busy lifestyle? And I think that's what's exciting about the new series.
That's, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but, come out
I think
Sunday,
we've given enough for people to be like, invite some people to Sunday.
Yeah. This will be a great sermon series for an introduction, if you will, to some of what we're talking about. Because what we're going to do every week is we're going to look at the theology of a spiritual discipline and then the practicality of it.
Yeah.
And so, what is the theology? Like, it's easy for me to get up there and say, like, hey, you need to be disciplined when it comes to scripture.
Yeah.
Well, okay, why? What does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, so we're going to look at, okay, well, what does scripture say about, like, when I talk about being disciplined in scripture, is it just, yep, I read it and I did that every day.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not a checklist. We're not just,
Yeah.
So what's the theological reason for this? What's the truth behind it? Why does God tell us to do this?
Yeah.
Okay, now how do I do this?
Yeah.
What are some ideas? What are some ways that we can, implement this in different methods and stuff? I'm not a reader. Let's give tips for that. Let's give, and so, this should prayerfully and hopefully be a great sermon series for people who maybe struggle with connecting the theological to the minute by minute daily routine of life.
Yeah, which I think the verse which one was it? Philippians 3, which is the one downstairs.
The one downstairs.
I press on
toward
the prize of Jesus Christ, the higher calling. So it's like, well, how do you press on? Well, this series is going to give you very practical reasons and ways. Reasons and ways.
Yeah.
Because
that's a good reasons and ways.
Yeah. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
That's
because you don't want to just do things to just do them or out of duty.
Yeah.
You want to have a correct heart posture in doing them. So I think, I think we've given a lot of preview to that.
Yep. So that's kind of, a little bit different this week. Not necessarily a follow-up. We kind of briefly looked back at Joshua and Isaiah and how it's going to tie into this, and we'll look more at that on Sunday, but really just wanted to give you guys a preview of where we're going, what you can expect for the first. I think we're going to be in this series about 2 months, and then as part of that series I'll explain where we're going after it and stuff, but get excited for 2022. This is our first official video of the new year.
It is.
Do you feel different? You feel that 2022 energy?
No, but
Yeah.
But I am excited and hopeful for 2022.
Oh, yeah.
And it's exciting that we have the first video of 2022, even though we missed the first service of 2022.
This first,
the first week, but that's okay.
That's okay.
We had to do it. So.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. Let us know. Like we said, this is the first video of the year, so let us know what has worked for you in the past videos, what you'd like to see us do in the future videos, any ideas.
That's a good point.
I mean, Mario's so excited, he's throwing stuff, and so that's a good thing. We're going to carry that energy and keep going. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you all Sunday.
All right.
Hey everyone, Pastor Sam here. Thanks for joining us for another midweek Bible study video. If you didn't see the sermon that we were talking about, you can find it here. Or if you're interested in more of these midweek Bible study videos and thoughts as Pastor Mario and I break things down, you can find that here as well. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all our content. Thanks for joining us.